This segment is brought to you by NBA Top Shot.
All right, welcome to the Connectin and Connectin podcast, episode 128. We're here with SDA. We're here with Derek. We're going to have a fun episode here today, diving into the NFTs, into the world of collecting. What are they? Are they assets? Are these collectibles? How we feeling, fellas?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Feeling good, man.
All right.
Let's do it.
All right. Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. So we're here just talking a little bit of NFTs. What is it? Where they come from? What's the future? What do we got? What do we have going with us? Derek here, our guest today, really has been diving deep into just kind of the future of them, how we look at them all as collectibles. All of us here have been involved with several projects. Have been enjoying the community that's based around it, but with the discords, with the big communities that are built in. Derek, what are you thinking about the NFT communities out there? What do you feel on the overall aspect of how things are and how you've been welcomed into the community so far?
Yeah, I mean, so and just to kind of back up, I mean, the thing that I like to start with, and I kind of sent you some notes of talking about the status economy, I think is really important with this too. And then kind of the power marketplaces. So I'm a marketplace founder, and marketplaces are Uber, Airbnb, Amazon. Uber, you have a rider and a driver. Airbnb, you have a host and a guest. Anything where there's like this chicken and egg problem that's really hard to solve, and that's what all these marketplaces are facing. But once it's solved, they tend to get really big and they tend to become monopolies. But just to back up, like I was a collector as a kid, physical cards. I got to get home and see what I got in my parents' storage unit there. But I just went way down the rat hole with candy really in the last couple months. Like I came and checked it out in 2023, and then I just kind of dove all in the last couple months. But to answer that question, I mean, it's an awesome community. I think that there's so much that can be done to really connect it a whole lot more. But as we were talking about, the future of having like a one-stop shop where you can trade across brands and sports, like the people that are in it is incredible. And in fact, one of the big reasons I started talking to folks at Candy and Buying was that I got in the Discord. I didn't even know it existed for the first 2 years because it wasn't really promoted on Candy's site. But once I got in there, like I started talking to Yowzers and the Gimp and Card Aficionado and all these guys that like, many of them, I do not know their real names, but they're just A, a wealth of knowledge. B, they are very serious, diehard collectors that really know their stuff. And what I quickly picked up on was like, hey, this is a small community with like astronomical possible growth ahead of it. And when that happens, like this is going to really be gangbusters. So I thought it was a really strong foundation of people. I know that every group, Panini, Top Shot, everyone has just really great people that seem to be involved that really care about like what we're building collectively. And so I'm excited to get in when I did and excited to see the future. So
who's your baseball team? Who do you collect the most?
Yeah, I was telling someone last night that I am like 90% Ohtani and Junior Caminero. And like, the three things I like to talk about are the status economy that I think we'll be living in. We already are in it, but it'll be growing. The power marketplaces, and then kind of my blue chip rookie grail thesis. So I went with Ohtani on the blue chips. And of his best 25 digital collectibles, I probably own like 13 of them or so. Nice. I went hardcore. Nice. I can show you the collection. And he has 11 one-of-ones, and I bought 5 of them, including his rookie. And then I bought his jersey number from his first mint. And I went to Topps. I bought his jersey number from their first mint. I bought a Kaboom at Panini as well for Ohtani. But then I went all Junior Caminero because the thing with Candy is that, Panini has stuff that's licensed by the Players Association. So like you can't see his jersey. And because of the status economy that I'll kind of describe, like I really thought the jersey was very important. And so I didn't buy any of their player license stuff, but it also stops at 2022. And because of that, all the rookies and the moments from 2023 to the present, and there's some really important moments and some really important rookies, they're hyper scarce and they're only at Candy. So I went really hardcore on Junior Caminero. I grew up a Braves fan. Okay. I'm from Charleston, South Carolina. So like one of those like 7 states around Atlanta that like doesn't have any other pro teams other than Florida. So we all sort of bandwagon onto the Braves. So I originally went to Candy in 2023, and I wanted Acuna stuff during his 40-70 season. But, you know, I also, for investment reasons, went really hard on Ohtani.
Trying to get some Fred McGriffs if they run it back.
I love Fred McGriff. I think I have a Fred McGriff autographed baseball somewhere. But, I mean, that's the thing. That goes to the blue chip thesis is that, like, as a kid, I loved Vince Carter. Like, Vince Carter was my hero. I collected every single Vince Carter rookie card. I would trade you, like, you know, an arm and a leg for a Vince Carter if you had it. Today, looking back on me as a kid, like as an adult, I would have told myself, bro, you want Kobe, you want LeBron, you want MJ. Nobody else matters, right? Yeah. So as kind of an investor, I'm like, you need to go with the guy that's going to be the most collectible, you know, today and 20 and 30 years from now. And to me, that's clearly Ohtani, not just because of his credentials as a baseball player, but because Japan is the second largest collectibles market in the world behind the US. So he's really got like global exposure and a huge double whammy there.
Yeah, no, I think that's interesting, especially we see with Top Shot is who's collecting their teams. So you got some people that are trying to collect a moment from every single player that's ever played on their team on the platform. You got the people who are, like you're saying, who's going to be valuable in 20 years, right? Like, I don't even know if I like the player, but I know that if this thing takes off, it's going to be valuable. Or the people that follow their player on every single, you know, team. If you're getting a Russell Westbrook, you've got quite the collection of every single team, right? Going around. So it's kind of interesting how people are looking at collecting.
100%. And that's where like my angle coming in as a marketplace founder, and also just, you know, what I realized as I look back on the last like 15 to 20 years of my life, the stuff that I've either missed out in or only participated in part was where I really had a specific edge, but I did not follow that intuition as hard as I could have. And so with this, I was just like, you know, I'm going to follow that intuition as hard as I can. And that's kind of how I ended up where I'm at.
What basically is when you're looking to start that? What kind of ideas do you have for that? And what's your overall perception of this marketplace that you're looking to get going?
And I want to back up further a little bit, if that's okay, and just talk about like why I think this is interesting overall. So like, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I started to post on X, and I'm now a really big influencer with, I think, 270 followers. So I'm really picking up steam. But the crazy thing about it is that, and I know because I would post videos and then I would see people's buying, and a lot of times they would reach out to me, that influenced like $40,000 worth of sales. And so I kind of just want to actually come back to this moment and then pick up the marketplace after that. But just to back up further, like, I think that this whole thing is a whole lot bigger than the collectors that are currently involved. And it could be one of those things where, like, you know, I grew up in Charleston, South Carolina, and people complain now about all the time how, you know, we have all these wealthy people moving in from other places and they're driving up the home values and all that, and they're not real locals and all that. And I think there's lots of places with that kind of around the world. I think that that's how this could go with these early digital collectible collectors. Because when I'm backing up here, I think that we kind of already currently live in, but we're going to be really growing into this thing that I'm kind of calling the status economy. And people are status flashers. And I'll give you some examples of that. You know, I was living in Miami, and some of my female friends, every time they meet a guy, the guy figures out a way to tell them how much his watch is worth. Luxury watches are like one of the most pointless things in the world. You can tell the time, you can tell the time on your phone, right? You don't even need the watch. The reason that watch is so important is because it's part of the status economy. It's part of status flashing. And when a guy tells my friend how much his watch is worth, what he's really trying to do is send her a message of like, hey, I'm important. I'm somebody. I matter. I have the financial means to take care of you if you were to decide that you have some level of interest in me. And so you've got that status flashing going. You've got, for women, it's kind of the luxury bags. Like, that's their status flash. And same thing. You can buy a nice bag on Amazon probably for $30. I haven't looked. But women go out of their way to spend, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 on a bag that is very not functional, but it's part of the whole status economy, the status flashing. And so part of what I think we're going to live in the next 10 years as these sort of like AR headsets develop, as watches get better and maybe they can show little holograms, as we have more and more haves and have-nots, unfortunately, I think we're just going to have more people that don't really know what to do with the money they have over the next 5, 10, 20 years. As these people are congregating in New York, Dubai, Miami, LA, wherever the case may be, I think that you're going to be able to walk into a restaurant, or you're going to be able to go to a Miami Heat game, and you're going to be able to have your headset on or your watch on, and it's going to notify you of the guy across the court or across the restaurant of the collectibles that they have. And it might even tell you how much his collectibles are worth. And you might even be able to gamble. Like, people go to the games right now and they gamble. But I think that whole world is going to happen where, like, a big problem right now is we don't really have very good ways to show off our collectibles, right? Like, the private ways that I've seen, they're not very cool. Like, I want a big screen where I can show off my Ohtani stuff. The public ways are developing because both Meta, Apple, Google, they're all working on these headsets, but none of them have really, I think Meta's released there, but it hasn't caught on, and that's not there. And we're probably a couple years away from being able, tech-wise, to have like a watch hologram. So the public ways are not there, but they're developing. And then the metaverse ways are very infantile as well. So we've got these silos of sports, right? We've got Dapper needs to put football and basketball together, but for some reason they have them separate. Candy's in La La Land trying to figure out what's going to happen next. Panini has done some great stuff by bringing in the physical collectors, and they have put their baseball, basketball, and football under one roof, which really helps. But the metaverse also, especially when you get into the more abstract, which I'm not even there, you're not wearing these glasses yet. You're not kind of walking down the street in this metaverse and walking into a store there. So I think in the next 10 years, as that marries, you're going to have a luxury watch industry, which is like $50 billion a year, the sports collectibles, which is $40 billion a year. And then you've got kind of this whole just like status flashing, whether it's like art or travel or whatever, that's like 1.6 trillion a year. And then you got the little teeny old digital sports collectibles, which is like $1.5 billion. And I think that over the next 2, 5, 10 years, as those things start to marry to each other, and you have a way to not just privately display them, but like publicly walk into a restaurant and compare notes, and then also in the metaverse, I think that there could be hyper massive buying pressure, because now these dudes that are showing off their luxury watch for $50K, and the main thing is just a status flash, they're suddenly going to want Ohtani collectibles on their watch, or, Batman or whatever it is, to be able to demonstrate their status to others. And so as I was kind of just sitting back and looking at that, I was just like, man, from the time that I've been living in Miami and other stuff, I just think that's the direction that we're headed. And I think that this industry as a whole has like massive growth potential that's going to happen in the next 2 to 10 years. So that was kind of my like starting point. Is that making sense so far?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And cool. I think one thing too, you're kind of hitting on is it's still pretty early, right? Even for us that have been around since the 2021 craze, you're still only 4, 5, 6 years into this, right? And from a collectible standpoint, what makes stuff valuable? It's usually time, right?
Time, scarcity, hype, and certainly the story you can tell around it. But right now, from a functionality standpoint, we are still significantly in the infantile stages to be. But with the way it's catching up, I hope it's like a 2 to 10 year play.
Loving the crypto slabs. The crypto slabs have just been just great to really display, the digital collectibles. As far as I've been to some trade shows, going around talking to a bunch of collectors in person, and it's just so easy to display and show them exactly, how the collectible looks, what it is, all the different aspects of it right there when I'm walking around. So that already has been, a development that's in the recent years here that has just taken it from something I used to have to show in my pocket to now just how I can show it in a nice digital displayed frame that resembles, like a slab physical card. And the same that's going on with the Disney Pinnacle, which is the digital Disney pins by Dapper Labs. They're developing a pin that you can wear. That so now a digital pin is something that's on your lapel, and it's something that when you go to the parks, there's already some great collectors out there like Briar J, who's been out there with the first prototype of this, just showing people in Disneyland just basically what she's wearing. And it's the digital pin is displayed on there. It lasts for hours. It's just something great that's already integrated, and it's all brand new. So, like I said, many collectibles, like we're saying, they sit there for years under your bed, or they get lost or forgotten. But the key thing I think is the licensing. As long as that official licensing is there, it's something that if you own, it'll be there, for forever the way that you want it because it has the team on there, it has the player, everything is official. That's what really I think is going to preserve these collectibles over the long run.
Yeah, Derek, have you experienced a crypto slab? Have you seen them yet?
I've seen them. I think it's super cool. I still think it's pretty early in the stages, and then I also saw like the pins. But
Yeah.
I think just going back to the status flashing, like it's gonna take off when I do think that we're gonna need like Meta, Google, Apple, someone to develop something that's gonna be like mass adoption, just the same way like the iPhone and different things are. And then when you can bring the digital collectibles into that set or your watch or whatever, and you're suddenly going into restaurants and I'm getting a ding that like, oh, SDA's over there and like he's got some Griffey stuff and I kind of want some Griffey stuff. Like it'll actually be fun because then like I will probably interrupt your dinner, hopefully politely, and like, we'll compare shop right then and there, and we might make a trade, we might not. So I think that kind of like, when I kind of reflect back on just the advancement of technology, like I can remember in 2015, like it was absolutely insane that there was an app on your phone that told you if like a girl was nearby that might want to go on a date with you, right? And like that thing was called Tinder. You could just swipe and like meet up with someone half an hour later for a drink. And so I think when we start getting that sort of tech, we're like, you're actually seeing the other collectors around you, and now dudes are walking around with stuff that they're showing people that's worth $100K or something on their like headset or whatever. I think that's when there's going to be like mass adoption, and then you're going to see it get way outside of the collectors. You're just going to have guys that like want to own cool stuff and tell people that they own one of one Otanis in the world, and there's only 11. And then you're going to have Japan billionaires that are like hitting you up, wanting to buy your stuff, and there's only 11 of them. So like there's going to be massive scarcity. So I think that it's got to do all that, but you never know when like a small startup like Crypto Slabs, I don't know much about them other than seeing their stuff. Like maybe they're the ones that develop some of that really cool stuff too. So I think it's going to happen both ways, but we're going to need some like mass adoption tools as well. That's just my experience.
So one of the things that Top Shot's done this year is really leaning into the parallels. So I think you saw the success of Panini in the off season, some of their big sales with the parallels. Now you're seeing Top Shot with their new roadmap, especially the rookies. You're seeing they got 3 different versions. They have the 1 of 1,000, out of 99, and then out of 50. What are your thoughts on parallels? I know Candy's leaned into those pretty hard in the past.
Yeah, I mean, until you described what they were at the end, because I've only gone way down the rat hole with Candy, I was guessing at what parallels were. Yeah, I mean, I think parallels are great because I don't have a strong opinion on it, but I think they're great because they create a ladder for people to kind of work their way up into. One of the things that I like to run comps against a lot, and is one of the comps I'll talk about with the blue chip rookie grail thesis that I have, is I compare the Otani rookies, which have the parallels, to the LeBron rookies, because they're both like rookies that were not made in the rookie year. They were actually, the LeBrons were made in 2024. The Otanis were made this year. The Otanis have the parallels, and I own the 1 of 1 Lego. The LeBrons do not. They just have 10 total. So I think that like on the one hand, it's great because it gives you a way to sort of work your way up the scarcity ladder and that's fantastic, and that might actually make them more valuable over time. But then, of course, like you can't argue with there just only being 10, LeBron rookies. So, I mean, I'm very pro parallels, I would say, for sure.
Yeah,
it's more jersey numbers and stuff too, so it's cool.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see what they've leaned into. So this year they've been doing a lot of auctions for those rookie jerseys. So the jersey number out of 1,000 or the perfect serial out of 1,000. And so what they're doing is they're having people burn moments, right? Yeah. So your past collection, you load up on it. They had, the Cooper flag one, which created a little bit of controversy because some people burned a Rui moment from, series 1, but it's from a Cosmic. But it's a little bit overvalued in the average sale price. Some people game in the system a little bit there, but now that Series 1 Rui is going down, right? I think they've burned 3 or 4 of them since the beginning of the year. And so if you're talking about anyone that wants to collect that Cosmic set, that set's just getting a little bit more scarce. But you're seeing quite a bit of interest. I know Bayou Sniper just, I think was at the Queen moment, burned 40 Zach Edey honors, right? And so a huge depletion of supply there. So, seeing if this snowballs over the years, don't know if you've seen that in Candy or Panini, if there's much burning going on there, but curious your thoughts on people being able to kind of level up their collections of maybe stuff they don't want anymore to get some of these grails coming up, especially throwing in parallels or jerseys or perfect serials.
Yeah, I mean, I know that there was a lot of controversy around the Cooper flag stuff. I've followed Top Shot from a distance. I think that Dapper could be a fantastic purchaser of Candy, MLB specifically. They both got the video stuff, and that's great. And I think they could fit really well together. I mean, if I'm a new collector coming into Dapper and I'm competing against some guy that can use like a rookie moment from 2021, that rookie's not panned out to be the person that we hoped, but they spent a ton of money on it and made a bad decision then, and now they're getting to apply that same value to a new guy. Like, I'm not going to like that as a collector, right? Because I'm starting out at a heavy disadvantage. Yeah. There'll be other things that I would love about going to Dapper, but in general, burning moments is great, right? Like, one of the huge advantages that I think is so funny that like I can't do physical. Like, I've got the physical at home, but like I'm too ADHD and I'm too traveling around that much. And like, my mother would tell me that I would lose my body parts if they were not attached to me. Yep. I cannot, and she would like, I'm not going to name the specific one she thought I would lose, but I could not have physical collectibles on me. And the other thing about this whole status economy is like, no one's taken their Patrick Mahomes football to dinner. Nobody's taking their LeBron James basketball to dinner. Nobody's going to be taking their Pokemon cards or their physical cards to dinner. But everybody will be able to take their Ohtani 1-of-1 or whatever it is to dinner. So I think that ease of use case is going to be huge. And then one of the huge things about digital over physical is the scarcity. Like, everybody knows exactly how many Ohtani rookies there are, how many LeBron rookie moments there are, because it's all on the blockchain. It's all visible. When I was going and doing research, trying to do comps, I was like, hey, how many physical 1-of-1 Ohtanis are there? And the answers that I got was like, we think somewhere between 500 and 1,000, probably closer to 1,000. And it's like, nobody even knows. And it's like, for me, just as an investor or as a collector, it's like, I want to know what the scarcity is. Like, that's one of the top 3 factors in determining the value of something. So I think digital has that hugely over physical. And just back around, like, yeah, I think burning moments is fantastic, because if you're burning moments, like, you're going to make it more scarce, and that puts more value on it. Like with the parallels at Candy, they had 2 different kinds of packs, and there's the legendary. I bought the legendary Junior Caminero. I bought 18 or 19 out of the 23 epics. And then what they said is, you have uncommons, which there's 90, and cores there's 130. And they said any uncommons and cores that are not open in these packs are going to get burned. So like, as that was happening, and as we got closer to the deadline coming up where you couldn't buy packs anymore, I bought more of the uncommons and the cores, because I'm like, all right, like, I can see there's going to be even more scarcity. So I think burning moments is great. And I think Dapper needs to be careful with the policies that they have, that it's not favoring too much, the OGs, because that's just going to like burn new collectors and hurt their interest in joining, to me. But I think there's a balance,
Yeah, for sure. And I thought that was kind of interesting. At the end of last year in the NBA Finals, they burned any of the packs that didn't sell, and they had some buyback stuff going on. So there were some reasons why some things maybe weren't selling or why people weren't collecting as much as. But at the end of the day, that final set is very, very scarce. Paulie, I know you've gone to some card shows. What are you seeing the difference between people with a cardboard versus the physical when you're talking about being able to carry it in your pocket and you don't lose it when you're walking around?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that, the physical aspect, it's always going to have, a huge draw. It's something that a lot of people grew up on. It's something that, generations and fathers and uncles have passed down cards. So that history is there. So I think people, are always going to have pride in the physical stuff. But what I see especially with the younger generations, the digital is just so accessible, and it ties into a lot of what they're doing nowadays. There's Pokemon has moved into the digital space, and it started some years ago with the Pokemon Go. Now they're doing another type of version where they're collecting digital, and people are able to play games with their collectibles that they have for Pokemon. So because of so many other things coming into this digital world, I think like with the gaming that comes along with Top Shot and NFL all day, you can play fast break games, you can have playbooks with the NFL. You're using your collection every day almost to do something else, whether it's a prediction challenge, to win packs. It's just so involved in the utility that comes along with it. Basically just, I think just blows away the physical collecting. But from what I'm seeing in the physical, and I wanted to ask Derek about, what do you think of the rookies on how it's priced? Because that's something a lot of people basically, I think, have a complaint about with the rookies. There's so much in demand before the season even starts that if you're a real fan, it's hard to even collect one because you're overpaying just for a base rookie card. But we're here in the digital world because of the mint and the supply and it's being so limited. What do you think overall on how the marketplace is versus the up and coming rookies in the digital world?
Okay. I guess I'm not sure I have a great answer on that. I have not gone down the track much with physical rookies. Like when I'm talking to ChatGPT and other collectors, and it doesn't seem like there's much of a scarcity component, then that for me is kind of like a non-starter on the physical side. It just feels like that, the physical companies can print maybe as much as the government can print. And so for that, like, I'm just kind of like, hey, so what I've been doing is I've been going and like Junior Caminero. I mean, to me, every rookie just psychologically is like people fall in love. For us, it's like buying a lottery ticket is what it feels like. And like, if you get that rookie and they turn out to be the next LeBron, Kobe, or MJ or Otani, then you have gotten in early and you're killing it. I personally think that like my Junior Caminero strategy is that if he does really well, to sell in the next 3 to 5 years, or maybe to sell partially and then just hold long term. But like back to what happened to me with Vince Carter, it's like Vince Carter's awesome, but he's not a winner in terms of, versus MJ, Kobe, and LeBron. So what I did with my Junior Caminero decision is I basically would just comp it against what there was scarcity with. And, I think that he had like a 1 in 25 that sold for like 30 something thousand or something like that. So I basically would comp that against his digital rookies that I was buying at like $120. And I was like, okay, I'll do the math really fast, but $120 divided by 35,000, if that was right. And not to mention he's got a crap ton of other stuff, right? But you actually have the parallels. That gave me a 99.7% discount. Like, my rule of thumb at Candy is that if I apply the comps to Top Shot or Panini, and then to physical, and I'm getting a 99.5% discount or better, then that's like a buy for me, basically. And that's how crazy the comps are right now. So like, I love to play poker, and that means essentially that I have a hand of poker and I can put in 50 cents And if I'm right, I get $99.50 back. And so if I think that there's a 1% chance that this could happen, then I should play that hand. I should put in $1 with the chance to get $99 back. And I think that there's a greater than 0.5% chance that the MLB stuff will survive, which we haven't talked about that at all, but it'll survive and it'll close the gap with Top Shot, Panini, and Physical over the next 5 to 10 years. And so that's why I've been buying like crazy at Candy, because as depressing as it is, which goes back to the marketplace stuff that I can kind of explain as a marketplace founder, I just think that there's a better than 0.5% chance that it doesn't go down the drain and that digital then closes the gap with physical. And because you're buying for a 99.5% discount, if it turns out that you're 5% right, like we survive, and then it closes the gap just 5%, then you're going to get a 10x on your money, right? If it's 10%, you're going to get like a 20 or 40x. I don't know the math, but yeah. So that's kind of my thoughts on the rookies, and that's how I've evaluated comps personally.
What do you think of the history of Candy as far as them being a collectible? For some years now, they went through the ownership with Fanatics, and then that obviously, had they aborted, and from there now the Candy is was purchased by the Futureverse. What do you think of that and the future of the assets themselves? We know that they're not completely yet able to come off of the platform. What do you see overall on the storage and the accessibility of those assets?
Yeah, so I'm new to the Candy stuff. I mean, first off, like part of the reason that the Honus Wagner cards are so valuable is because the project was a flop, right? Like they released the Honus Wagner cards, it didn't go well, it was a flop. Because of that, they didn't make very many of them. Because there weren't that many made, over time they became incredibly scarce and incredibly valuable. And so, Candy not being very good at running their own business might end up being the best thing that ever happened to the collectors that have collected there, because in 10, 20 years, 30 years, I mean, dude, there are literally 3 Ohtani one-of-ones from his 2024 first year as a Dodger, MVP, World Series 50-50 season, and I've bought 2 of them. And it's partly because of Candy's inability to really run their business well, that everything is so scarce because they haven't minted a lot. So I think, I guess I want to kind of come back and actually talk about marketplaces a little bit, because I'm a marketplace tech founder in my day job. And so I was applying that lens when I came into Candy. And basically, the deal with marketplaces is that every rider for Uber doesn't create incremental, but it creates exponential value for the platform and for all the drivers. And every driver creates not incremental, but it creates exponential value for all of the riders. And marketplaces are insanely hard to start. That's why there's only Uber and Lyft. That's why there's only Airbnb and VBR. That's why there's only Amazon. That's why there's only eBay. And the deal is that they're insanely hard to start with this chicken and egg problem. But once they get going, they're essentially unstoppable. And they become monopolies and they bring everything into it. So, right now, what I think we have is we've got Panini, which has gone gangbusters, and they've put all the sports under one roof. They've got the physical collectors involved, and that's great. We've got Dapper, which I think needs to combine football and basketball together. And then we've got Candy siloed off with like this other weird stuff. And like the comics are great, but it doesn't make any sense. Like when Jeff Bezos started Amazon, he didn't try to sell 50 different non-related things. He sold books. You could only buy books. And then you grow a marketplace by starting with that core and then growing that red hot center until it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So when I looked at Candy, I said, hey, look, if you had all the best properties in the world and they could not be on Airbnb, well, a couple things would happen. One is that people still want to travel, so they would drive up the prices on the properties that could be on Airbnb. They would pay more for those properties. The other thing that would happen is that all those really great properties, the owners of those properties, their price would be suppressed because they wouldn't be able to find any buyers, and they would get more and more depressed, more and more discouraged. And before you know it, they're selling stuff way less than it's actually worth. So I think that Candy, as the only MLB licensed stuff, has incredible supply. And like even the people that like hate candy will come to it and they'll say, man, the name sucks. Were they actually drug addicts that came up with the name? But secondly, they're like, the thing is, like, they honestly have the best stuff. Their designs are killer. Their designs are amazing. The supply is sick. And so my thesis is that, if you take that really suppressed supply and either they sell to Dapper, which I think would be brilliant on Dapper's part, SDA, if you know them well, because then they can have baseball, basketball, and football. And if they put it under one roof, that'll be great. But if this assets survive and if they go to OpenSea and they live in obscurity for a while with the top stuff, or they get bought by Panini or by Dapper, I think that you see like an immediate 5 to 10x, maybe more, because what's going to happen is as the stuff moves to a one-stop shop, you're going to get real price discovery. And so now, if you go to Panini, they're listing their one-of-one Otanis that are not licensed by the MLB for $500,000. And everybody agrees that because they have liquidity there, you could probably sell one for at least $100K. Well, I bought my one-of-one Otanis, and there's only 11 for like $1,700, $2,300, $28,000, $3,000, and I bought the rookie for $5,000 plus $2,000 of trades. So now you're going to have like the rookie Otani moment where it's licensed and it's going to be competing against something that's worth $500,000. And I think there's going to be a massive repricing. The other example as a comp is the LeBron rookie moments. There's only 10 on Top Shot. And it's funny because I made a video. Somebody watched the video about the comps and then went and bought the LeBron that was at 15,000, or the floor was 25K. They negotiated to 15. Now there's only 10 LeBrons and the floor is now 50K. So that would imply if you had one, you could say it's worth $500,000. Well, like again, I'm buying the rookie moment, which I think people will get more flexible with over time for, let's just call it 5,000. Meanwhile, a LeBron would be worth $500,000. So I'm getting a 99% discount on that. Meanwhile, the physical, people have said it could sell for as much as 20 million, but maybe 4. So like when I'm buying the stuff at Candy because of the marketplace dynamics and because of digital not being where physical is yet, I'm getting that Otani rookie for like 99.89% off. So like that's an easy buy to me. So that's kind of my question on the marketplace. It's like, there's no doubt that collectors don't trust Candy, but I think that their inability to run the business well could ultimately create a lot of scarcity and value around it. People love the product itself. Right. And I think that could really end up being a long-term thing. I'll say one more thing, then I'll be quiet. People, self-custody is key. Like we have to have self-custody. It's like self-custody or death so that we can get these all either on Dapper or a secondary marketplace. I think that when the royalty contracts get figured out and the brands and sports can make 1% or 2% on every sale that happens, I think that they will start pushing digital over physical, because with physical, you only get one pop if you're the brand or the sport. But with digital, they could make a sale on each of those extra sales. And I think that might really be a turning point for pushing digital closer to physical and maybe even past it one day.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think I saw your video a couple of weeks ago, and it got me thinking about it. I guess I never really thought through that much of what happens if there is a kind of one-stop shop. I know we've gotten lucky in the sort of the flow economy, having Floaty where you could go and buy from these different projects, right? We don't have the option necessarily to trade like a Mahomes for a LeBron or anything like that. But I know they've tried with the EVM and OpenSea, but that's just kind of a, it's not OpenSea's top priority, right?
No.
The sports collecting. And then you had a little bit in the off season of some people that are championing all of digital collecting. And then you also have, maybe it's Top Shot versus Panini versus Candy or whatever, right? Which, I'm of the more people that come to this space, the better for everybody. But I never really thought about it as here's a Panini moment or card or NFT versus a Top Shot moment. But if they're on the same platform and you're looking at a one-of-one and you've got a digital video that is, 5K versus a standalone NFT that is 50K, there's some decisions that get made that are maybe a little bit different. So I think there's obviously the behind the scenes of what blockchain this stuff needs to all live on in order for it to have that singular marketplace, or could somebody develop a marketplace that can read off the Panini or whatever Candy is going to be housed on, I think is really interesting. So a cool concept to think about, hoping somebody gets some investment dollars to actually build this for us.
I think it's Paulie, were you going to interrupt or say something? I know you're having to. Okay. I think it's a matter of time, because the thing about these marketplaces is that they are gravity. Like, they function the way that gravity does. A marketplace is just going to pull everything to it. And just the same way that like every collector, no matter if they're on Panini, Top Shot, or Candy, everybody is starting to demand self-custody. And as that happens, people are going to have it in their wallets. And as the blockchain, you can start trading across blockchains and converting it easily. It's going to emerge, is my 2 cents. And Dapper, because Panini's great, but they're maybe getting bought by Fanatics or Topps right now, right? I mean, Dapper is the one that's like, if I was on their team and could get hired by them, I'd say, look, guys, we got to get this under one roof, and we need to buy Candy or not Candy, but MLB, because then we can have baseball, basketball, and football, and we can actually have a chance of being this one-stop shop, depending on what happens. And then as Panini gets self-custody, they can bring their stuff on. And that's when the real price discovery is going to happen. And, if you're thinking about as a kid, as a physical collector, I can walk into the store, I can trade across brands and sports. I can, from the people that are there, I can buy anything that's in the shop. But now we can have that same fun anytime, anywhere, with anybody in the world. And that's when I just think, and then you've got dudes walking into Miami restaurants, status flashing. That's just when I think like, that $1.5 billion sports collectible market, and Candy's minuscule in that. You could see some incredible growth as that gets married to, digital collectibles overall, sports collectibles, luxury watches, which together that's over $100 billion market. So we could easily see 100x, I feel like.
No, I really like the concept. I think it could be a really interesting thing if that happens. And I know something Dapper's done a really cool job of, some people like it, some people don't, is the ability to play games with your collection, right? Yeah. Whether it's fast break or playbooks, things like that. And, if you did have a secondary marketplace, you could cut across different chains and whatnot and play these games, or fantasy sports could be based off of much more than just one collection.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing too is just, as one of the things I noticed on Floaty is that you can loan against your collectibles, right? So like, I just think that as it becomes more legitimized, as the financial instruments, like one of the things that I bought along was themes. So like, I got as many high quality, that actually reminds me of something I need to look at. I got as many high quality Otani 17s as I could. Because what I'd like to do is put together a collection where, I put together the 5 best 17s that I have, and then I do fractional ownership. And I, let 10% of it loose initially, and then, I'll be 70 in 31 years. So like maybe every year I kind of release a little bit more until I'm down to like 50% ownership. And then I can just sell the whole thing or whatever the case may be. But that gives 2 things. One, it lets fans across the world participate, which would be really cool. And then the second thing is that it might collectively drive up the value. Like with my thesis, I think I'll do like a combo of both. I think some people that are just as wealthier people enter the space. I saw Sydney Sweeney bought some important NFT. She bought an Azuki. I don't know. I just saw that on X. I don't know if it's true or not. But, as people start to bring status to the space, some things are just going to, be sold as ones, because some billionaire in Japan is just going to want the only one of one in the world with Otani's name in Japanese, which I bought on Candy. There's only one in the world, and he's going to want that. He's going to pay whatever, and that's going to be fine. But I think for other stuff, it'll be really cool to have the fractional stuff. It'll become hopefully an asset that you can lend against. And I think that as all that stuff happens, it's going to really grow too. And hopefully the Clarity Act, or, some of these different things that are coming, will bring some governance and legitimacy as well.
So something that I saw also, as I've been to NFT NYC, the Bitcoin conference, just some of those digital blockchain conferences that go on. The technology is always there at every one of those that I've seen. So there's like 4K frames that are coming out. Just some really unique stuff on how to display NFTs and collectibles. So that's where I just, as the technology and usability just comes along with that, I think that's where a lot will separate, with the digital and the physical world. I would love to see, like, you can see it like airports, and I see at malls. There's these lucky boxes, these like claw game looking things where you basically could get a signed jersey out of. You could buy packs out of. And these things are kind of vending, machines are being distributed throughout many locations. I would love to see like a 2-in-1, like, an NFT, displayed on the side of one of these things where you could also buy digital. It's something that, how easy would it be with an app in your phone? You could just QR code scan, you make your purchase, and an NFT could be delivered to you right there and then, whether it's standalone vending machines or a 2-in-1. Maybe, Dapper could partner with one of these boxes that are in every mall and airport that I've been seeing. Something that just gets out there and in the physical world. Well, I'm just seeing what you guys kind of think of those, if you've been seeing them around.
Go ahead, SDA.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think the biggest challenge of this whole space is people touching it, right? With the physical card, everyone knows it. Everyone grew up as a little kid getting a baseball card, and you see your kids opening a pack. Like there's nothing better, right? They don't care the value of it. But I feel like as we've gotten older, like everyone is like, I get the concept. You do have to explain it to some people, right? It's like when we go to the Wizards game here and have a Top Shot event, and people are, oh, they're interested in what you guys are doing. And this is back when it took a while to sign up, and then you've got to create your account and all this. First, I know, Paulie, you've gone to some of these events where you bring almost what looks like a sealed pack, and inside of it is a QR code, right? So you rip the pack, and then, okay, here's my QR code, and okay, now I get it, right? These are trading cards. I can buy and sell. It's a 24/7 marketplace. I don't need to walk to the post office anymore. I don't need to go on eBay and see, is somebody actually going to send me what I'm paying for, right? It's just such frictionless economy that it makes it so much more fun. And then you layer on, the community aspect where we could do meetups and go to games together. You can get in the Discord, you can talk. We're talking about these auctions and the strategies, and you have, smart people like Derek that's crunching the numbers behind the scenes. And you have other people that just, hey, I don't care. I just want to buy the moment that I like. Right. I just feel like it's such a good opportunity for a lot of different people that don't want to carry around. I was looking, I got 1,300 moments, right? I don't want to carry around 1,300 cards. My wife wouldn't let me have 1,300 cards in my house, right? And a lot of them aren't worth anything, but I enjoy them. And then some are worth something, right? And so that gets into really wanting to be able to display it, show it off to people. I've leaned hard into the rookies and trying to find better ways in which to show off, Wembanyama or the Jalen Williams rookies that I have. Like, that's what I want to show off to people, especially basketball fans. But yeah, I don't know, Derek, have you seen any of the, just kind of people getting their hands on things a little bit easier?
I think that just it's a matter of time. I mean, it's funny, actually, some of the guys at Candy were saying, they had to get into digital because they needed to start hiding their collections from their wives, and they didn't have any more space for cardboard boxes in their house, so they got into digital, and they can keep their promise that they've eased their collecting back when that's not really the case. Whatever it takes, Yeah. I mean, the thing is, too, kids is it Roblox? They're getting really comfortable with buying digital collectibles, and I don't know if these kids are 12 or 10 or 15 or what, but like they're not going to have the same experience of only being hooked to the physical. I think the physical is always going to be cool because of the balls, the actual the actual jersey, the balls. But I think the cards, and the other thing about kids, like, they're all hooked on video, so like video is what they know. And that's a big advantage that like the Candy and Top Shot stuff has, is like you can have the actual videos. So whatever it takes to marry the physical to the digital, whether it is like, the stuff that Paulie's talking about, or whether it's just the Apple Watches and the AR headsets and, being able to see collectors around you and knowing what they have and have those conversations and status flash. That is necessary. And the other thing is like, let my people go. I know Dapper has self-custody with Flow, and Panini has a path that they're releasing. And, I don't think any of these folks want to let them go. I think they want to keep it because it's good for them. But man, get those royalty contracts in place. Give us self-custody. You deserve the percent or two. You can continue to make that, but you got to give owners their stuff. You got to let them have it in their wallets and then take it to that Amazon where we can compare. And I think when that happens and people are showing their stuff off in the physical world and people have self-custody, I just think we're going to have liftoff. But it's a lot of patience and work, and like everybody need. Yeah, I just think that's when it's going to pass it. And like also like the more there was some like hobby store in the Midwest that produced like 30 to 40 million of fake collectibles. And with AI and all that other stuff, that's going to get easier and easier to do. And like I see people commenting on X about like, hey, this card, I really want it, but it's from China and I'm nervous it's not real. And then we're going to have like Japanese millionaires and billionaires entering the space. They don't want to buy an Otani card that I got to ship to them. We don't want to ship that stuff across the ocean, right? As it gets more international, digital's just going to be picking up steam. I don't know if it equals it. I don't know if it passes it, but I certainly think that when I'm buying stuff 99.8% off, that, if I get to a 10%, if I'm 10% right, I like 50x my investment. Like, I think that's going to happen. And I actually think digital is going to pass physical, but it might be when I'm like 70.
Right. Love it.
Maybe faster, maybe 5 or 10 years. I mean, we're seeing it right now. I was kind of thinking in reverse, and it's like, man, 15 years ago, I think we were using, I guess a little longer, we were using instant messenger on AIM to communicate with our friends at night. And that's not right. It was longer than 15 years, maybe 20, 25.
Yep.
15 years ago, all of a sudden we've got Facebook, and now like my friends that are in their 20s, they don't go to the beach to go to the beach. They go to the beach to take photos of themselves at the beach that they post on Instagram and TikTok.
Just want to thank you guys so much. This is exciting stuff. The digital world, as we have been talking about here, it's exciting to see what's going to be happening. I just want to thank you for coming on the pod today. Had a great time. We'll follow Derek Snook. He's definitely has a good insightful education and marketplace information that we should all take a listen to. So thank you guys so much. C&C Pod here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Paulie.